VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi. My name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
You are listening to Share the Wisdom. Share the Wisdom. It's all about helping to empower the wisdom. From the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, here's your host, Mr. Benjamin Keeley.
Hey, Keith, as always, man, you make us look good. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Share the Wisdom. We're coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where today is not sunny. Let me tell you, not sunny. We got 1 to 2 inches of water coming down every hour. It's getting a little crazy, but we're still here rocking and rolling, and we have a great show for you today. Today, I got some great friends. We got Jack and we got Lukas. We're going to be talking about a bunch of things. One is about a great movie that they put together. And first, I want to introduce my friends. Hey, Jack and Lukas, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for the opportunity, Ben.
Good. Hey, I appreciate you joining the show here.
We have the sun up here in Atlanta.
We don't have it down here, man. Mm-hmm. It's like liquid sunshine today. Why don't we start with Jack? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Jack Chen. I am currently an attorney and am totally blind. I have an amazing wife and 4 wonderful boys up here in New Jersey. We do have great sunshine today too, and just love life. I mean, life is full of adventures, full of twists and turns, but the Almighty makes it worth it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Praise that. Hey, how did you lose your eyesight, if I could ask?
Yeah, great question. Well, I was born with limited eyesight, and so the way I can help others understand, I could see large shapes and colors, but no definition. So if I was standing at the end of my driveway, I could see, the color red, white, and silver, but I couldn't tell you that it was a house. I could just kind of see the different colors where they were. But I was always really trying to use my eyesight to the best I could. I was really into biking even as a kid, mostly just riding around the block, using the contrast in the color of the pavement versus the color of the sidewalk or the grass, and going around the block. And I was really into video games at the time as well, so it just tried to use eyesight to the best of my ability in whatever way I could. And that was the state of affairs until the 10th grade, where I went for an eye operation. This is in the early 90s, where DNA matching technology was just coming into its own. And I needed a cornea transplant, so they were able to identify someone who had a matching DNA with me so that we could do a cornea transplant. During the operation, though, there was some hemorrhaging during the surgery, and I lost the retina in that one good eye. And I didn't discover this until a few days after the operation, when they put me in the post-operation room. And when they took off the bandages, I was waiting for them to do the rest. And when I reached up and touched the skin of my face and my eye and couldn't see anything, I knew something had seriously gone wrong. And I had become totally blind and lost all the rest of my eyesight. And it was like someone took a bucket of ice and they poured into your soul. It felt like life was just draining away. And so that's kind of how I lost my eyesight. I was about 16 years old, and I've been totally blind now for about 35 years.
I remember when I first lost my eyesight, it was a shock, but you learn how to move on. I'm very impressed. You're an attorney, and I believe you went to Harvard. Is that correct?
Correct, right. That was part of the story. Is that this was after sophomore year in high school, the operation. And at the time, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea that or what was possible. But I only knew that I was going to continue doing what I was doing. And what I was doing at the time, before I had gone to the operation, was studying for SATs. Now, as a person who was legally blind in my earlier years, I had learned Braille, but I wasn't very practiced at it, wasn't very good at it. But at this time, and with what had just happened, I didn't really have a choice. It was Braille or nothing. So I said, okay, Braille, and let's go and try to study for these SATs. And I did that, and really leaned into it, because this was primarily what I could do. And through that experience, I was so blessed to be able to get a pretty high score on my exams. And when I applied to Harvard to go in as an early action student, I got in. And there's a lot more behind that, but really, it was the opportunity for me was to see that, hey, life isn't going to be all dark and clouds, that there is a light.
And that's so true. That's so true. And we hear it all the time. I do a lot of work with veterans, and you talk with them and sit down. I go to what's called the BRC, it's the Blind Rehab Centers, and I sit down with these veterans that just lost their eyesight or came back from a conflict or something, and they're depressed because of that situation. And if you educate them and you let them know that there is life afterwards, and training them, and to see them turn around, it's always a great story. And your story is pretty awesome too. So, anything else on your direction in life there?
Well, I will only start to share what I've developed recently, which is this idea that blindness or any other challenge, any other disability is truly a gift and an opportunity, because I've discovered this idea, this truth in life, that if you lean into your adversity, if you embrace it and you treat it as something that is of great value to you, then you begin to see yourself change in some pretty dramatic ways and develop skills and abilities and gifts that you never thought you would have. And what it unlocks for you in life is exponential growth, impact, and success. And I've discovered that in my own situations, having seen the adversity play out. And it's a truth that I believe anyone, whether you have a disability or not, whether you're blind or not, whether you have any adversity, has the ability to lean into this and to really find incredible growth, impact, and success.
And that's well said, well said. Let's jump over to Lukas. Hey, tell us a little about yourself, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Lukas Behnken, and my work side is I have a production company called Sterling Light Productions, and I produce documentaries and feature films that have social action campaign elements to its distribution, and really building nonprofits to last years after the film's release and the use of the film for long-term change. And I also have a nonprofit called the Bromont Program, which works with former incarcerated in filmmaking. And I live in Atlanta, and I'm married and have 3 children, 11, 7, and 3. And have my office on my property, and we have some farm animals, and my wife homeschools, and doing the family focus and business focus juggle.
Wow, that's a great story.
Thanks.
I was looking into your bio a little. You've done some great film work also.
Yes, absolutely. I've made about 9 films thus far. I'm a longtime actor turned theater founder and owner and managing director for many years of the Sherry Theater Center for the Arts, which still exists to this day in North Hollywood. And then I shifted into production, and with Sterling Light Productions, have produced a number of feature films and documentaries. And my first documentary is a film called Mully that had a large campaign connected to it about a man in Kenya and raising awareness about his rescuing of children and creating an eco-village, sustainable village for the street youth, and have made films on the topics of prison reform and policing equity, and film on hate and forgiveness between family members, and on child trafficking. And so my main focuses are generosity, compassion, forgiveness, and justice. And that's the funnel in which I determine the stories I participate in.
That's a great thing for the soul, too. It's a great thing to be able to do. So tell me, you guys, how did you two meet? Jack, you want to take that one?
Sure, for Lukas and me, correct? Yeah, well,
yes, please.
It was, all I can say is that making a movie is like no other experience. There are lots of twists and turns, and we originally were not working with Lukas. We were working with another producer. That producer was the person who came with us on the race. So that producer brought a team together with us on this cross-country adventure, which we'll talk about, and she filmed the whole thing. So we had a bunch of video and audio of our journey across the country, and we were attempting to turn that into a documentary, into a movie, into something that was compelling. And we did not find a lot of alignment with that producer's approach. And so my other partner who started this project with me, Dan Berlin, had a contact who knew someone who was in the film industry. And they were not capable of, so they thought, putting together documentaries. That just wasn't their wheelhouse. And they said, well, I know this guy named Lukas, and we connected with Lukas, and he was brought on primarily to just help advise us and what could we do. And as we started talking, we started realizing there was so much great overlap and great passion for us to kind of be supporting each other, but also doing this project together. And since then, Lukas has come on board, really shaped this documentary in ways that we can talk about more, just really made it something that was going to be able to achieve what we wanted to achieve in dealing with unemployment. And Lukas and I have become great friends over the course of the last 3 to 4 years.
That's very cool. Lukas, you want to add to that, or she got it right on the money?
Yeah, definitely. That's the pathway. And coming on, it was that shifting from the advising and consulting to realizing that it was a project I was very interested in participating in and to help enhance it and produce it. And so he had the race footage, and I put together a team, and they put together a fund to really complete the documentary. And we put a team on the road to then interview all of the family members, interview the crew, and interview additional organizations and individuals that could speak to the topic. And with those interviews, then shape the story, intertwining, jumping from the race to their stories and getting to know them, the people that raced, and then the team members, and how the crew and the team experienced it. So it was a neat angle to talk with them after and hear them looking back upon the experience and how it shaped their lives, which wouldn't have come out if it just ended with the completion of the race. And so that's the path that it took. And then finishing the film and wanting to put attention before we released it on actualizing the reason that they raced, which was to change the unemployment rate of the blind. And so we've spent the last close to a year focusing on building that part of the film so that the film has its whole mission intact.
Well, that's so cool. And you guys worked together and you built a nonprofit organization around that whole situation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. It was funded by a nonprofit, and that's become the entity that we've expanded into the foundation that will continue the vision and purpose of the film. And so that nonprofit's mission was to make the film, and now it's going to be about distributing it and taking it out to the world.
Well, sounds so cool. Hey, but, I hear the producer in my ear. They're yelling, it's time to take a quick little break. But if you guys wouldn't mind sticking with us, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that nonprofit and start getting into this little teaser about this movie.
Absolutely.
How's that sound? All right, guys. Well, remember, you're listening to Share the Wisdom at the Wisdom for the Blind Studios. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's w4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind. Are you a big geek? Do you enjoy learning about new technology? Then join us on the fourth Thursday of every month for the Wisdom Geek Club at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, hit up w4tb.org and click on the Geek Club button on the main page. And don't forget to share the wisdom with a friend. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us. This is Ben. We're at Share the Wisdom from Wisdom Blind Studios in not sunny, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And our guest today is Jack and Lukas, and we were talking about their race that they did and how it all got started. And we're going to go back to Lukas. When we took the break there, we were talking about the nonprofit that you were working on. And then if we can get a little bit into the nonprofit and maybe jump over to Jack and talk about how he started that race and what he wanted to do to raise funds.
Absolutely. And so we realized that we wanted to develop this long-term strategy and use a foundation and a nonprofit to run the campaign for the release of the film so that we could drive proceeds and donations towards actually making this change. And so the Surpassing Sight Foundation is a reshaping of the entity that was founded to do the race. And Jack and I, over some months with the initial partners that put together the main nonprofit, which were the riders, the racers, have now taken those seats to carry on the nonprofit. And through the process, as you asked in the last section, our time together doing this has been incredible, and I've found a great friend in doing this with Jack. And we're so similar in our passion for helping others and making change, and that's really built a wonderful relationship. And I'd say he's one of my closest friends. And so now we get to run an organization together and travel around and encourage others to make change with us and lift people up and give opportunities. So we've been having a wonderful time doing this together.
Well, that's so cool. So Jack, when I reviewed, some of your story, we came across the race. Tell us about that and what made you want to do it and how that tied in with the nonprofit and stuff like that. Please.
Yeah. So I'll go back a little bit to what I said earlier about leaning into your adversity and leaning into your challenge, because the impetus or the work, how I call it, the thing that triggered this whole idea was based on adversity. So for me, even though I had lost my eyesight and I was starting to get some success in life, go to Harvard and all these things, there were still some really significant challenges ahead of me. I only had 20% of the reading material that I was supposed to have in school, and yet at the same time, I was fortunate enough to graduate with an honors degree. And it woke me up, because I started to see that, things that are impossible are actually happening, and it repeated itself over and over again. For example, I took the bar exam to become a lawyer and passed in New York and New Jersey, but they didn't want me to take the exam on computer in 2005. They wanted me to take the exam on a cassette tape. So it's like taking a 200-page reading comprehension exam on a one-line teleprompter. And I passed with a significant margin. And what that started to show me was that really nothing is impossible. And so why do you deny the opportunity for yourself to do anything in life? And so fast forwarding a little bit, I started a podcast a number of years ago, and it was a short run podcast talking to other really incredible people with disabilities to understand what are their success factors for life. And Dan Berlin, who I mentioned, was one of the guests on my podcast. And so we talked about his life, and he's incredible. As a blind individual, became the CEO of a very, very successful company making vanilla extract, one of the largest companies in the world. And he and I afterwards started talking and posed the question, what's the most difficult endurance challenge you could ever think of doing? And he said, ride my bike across the country. And in an instant, just like that, I said, let's go do it. And that is a direct result of what I had been grown into as a result of leaning into adversity. This is one of the superpowers I had developed, was I wasn't going to let anything be a hindrance or let any doubt come into the picture. So we said, we're going to go do that. And it's interesting that Lukas alluded to this. This nonprofit has been an extraordinarily flexible vehicle for us to accomplish all these things. Our initial vision and overall mission for this organization is to take the 70% unemployment rate and drive it down to 7% and lower. And we're doing that by putting people who are blind and successful in plain sight. So we call it success in plain sight. And where this started was we needed a vehicle to do this race. And it was like building a company from scratch, raising money, finding people. We had a crew of the entire organization that came across the country was 42 people doing this, fast-paced parade across the country, if you will. And just such an incredible opportunity to meet all these different people, but really as the leads of the organization, inspiring the people and making this happen. And so it was incredibly successful. We finished the race, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but also the team won best crew in the race. And there's a lot there too, but really that was starting a company from scratch. So now once the race was done, that team largely moved on. And so now it was phase 2, starting a company from scratch that had the assets of 12 terabytes of video data and a little bit of money left to figure out, well, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to make a movie? And again, Dan and I started this company from scratch again, a nonprofit to make a movie. That took us another 4 years or so to execute that phase of the project. And once that was done, there was another seed change. And that seed change now is the organization that's doing the social impact work. Now, this phase is going to be way longer than 4 years. But it, again, is like starting a company from scratch. Lukas and I are now the principals of this organization, looking to raise the funds and create an endowment for this organization that's going to move the needle, because the needle needs to be moved. It hasn't moved to the degree that we're satisfied with in the last 100 years. And we do believe the pieces are there. We just need to activate them and then just start seeing the change happen.
And, I started Wisdom for the Blind 2 years ago, and it is a challenge, and it's all about, sharing the wisdom, and what you guys are doing is great, and getting out there and sharing the story about employment and stuff like that. And to be honest, I really never pictured until you and I started talking, Jack, about a month ago. And, you talked about your passion for, equal employment for the blind and vision impaired. And I really never thought about it until you and I talked about it. And I'm like, wow. And one of the things that people are missing in my eyes is that a blind or a vision impaired or someone that is got an issue that they need to deal with, they're better workers. They're more dedicated. They're more focused on what they need to do. And I think, the direction you guys are going is fabulous. And you opened my eyes to some of this stuff.
Wow.
What do you think, Lukas?
Yeah, I think it's incredible that continues to happen, and I just witness it over and over. And similar for my experience, I hadn't had anyone in my life that I had known about and learned about this struggle, and the fact that there were so many preconceived ideas about the possibilities of what someone who is blind can do, and just seeing how over time with employment it's been shaped into easier in their view, to hire someone who they think it's such a assumption, right? They just assume what they know, and if you haven't seen it before, you don't know. And so I think half of this purpose is letting people see. what people are capable of. Because if we don't judge them for having those assumptions and just say, oh, I guess they aren't aware that someone can do something they thought they couldn't, how about we show them? And that's really a large purpose of the film, because once people see what hundreds of people can do without sight, then they change their minds, and then they can make the opportunities after they've dropped that assumption. And it happened for me in a wonderful way, just witnessing individuals who did not have sight do things that I might have otherwise not thought possible, just based on having not seen it.
And, since you and I have, both you and Jack, since you and I met and we talk, I actually look more at different things, and I look a little differently at things. And I've had some guests on before that worked for major technology companies that was asked to leave because they weren't ready for this. They didn't know how to service that employee or that team member. I listened to a podcast a few weeks ago about a movie, a TV series that was afraid to hire somebody that was blind, and the show was about a blind person.
Wow!
And they hired a sighted person to play a blind person, and I've never really focused on those until actually, Lukas, you and I were talking, on that one call we had, about a month and a half ago, and I started, and now I'm just focusing on this, and it's all over there. And I heard you guys talk about equal pay and stuff like that, and employees and employers aren't aware of this. And you walk around and they're afraid. Oh, he's going to get broken. And it's all about education. And I think what you guys are doing in your nonprofit is fabulous. It's all about education. And we go back to our slogan: share that wisdom. Mm-hmm. So I'm real excited, that we're working together now. So.
Me too. I'm really encouraged by what you're doing.
So, Jack, how do you feel that you've progressed with the race and the nonprofit and trying to share your message?
Yeah, I am by nature, Lukas knows me now, I'm by nature not a patient person. I like to see everything happen yesterday. So it has been a challenge for me, yet at the same time, the process has been incredible. Where I think we are in the process is we have now the assets to bring this message forward. And what we're looking for at the moment is to find the resources to activate that message. We've already proven through proof of concept, that when people see this film, they are changed and transformed and activated. And a movie has about an 5 to 8 minute window for someone to do something about it. And we want to activate that. So we're building the organization and the infrastructure to be able to do that. Once we do that, we take this film on the road, it's going to start opening things up. And we're so excited to be able to be a part of that and to be able to build that organization.
Oh, it's so cool. And again, the producers are yelling in my ears, it's time to take another break. But what we're going to do is when we come back from our break, we're going to do the trailer of the movie. And then we're going to talk about the movies. Are you guys up for that?
Sounds great.
Sounds wonderful. Great.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just stay with us. So once again, this is Ben. We're coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and this is Wisdoms for the Blind show. Share the wisdom. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Christina Hepner.
And I'm Leslie Hoskins, and we're hosts of the Taking the Lead podcast from Leader Dogs for the Blind.
Our podcast provides insight into the blindness community and impactful stories from our clients.
At Leader Dog, we continue to be the answer for thousands who need our free services. These include guide dog training, white cane training, and more. Once clients complete training, they're reintroduced to a life of safety and independence.
Learn more at leaderdog.org.
Looking for a fitness app that is accessible for the blind? Well, look no further. Revision Fitness is just what the trainer ordered. This audio and text-based fitness program has a wide selection of fitness options, including cardio, strength, yoga, balance, flexibility, and even progressive relaxation sessions. Download Revision Fitness on the App Store or Google Play, or visit revisionfitnessapp.com and get a free 14-day trial for new users. Find your fit with Revision Fitness. And as always,
Revision Fitness.
Let's change the way we look at it.
A young woman, shoulder-length blonde hair.
I first met Jack on paper. So I read his credentials. I thought, wow, it's a really great...
Jack cooking.
Reputable schools.
A college campus.
Super brilliant off the charts.
Jack at a laptop.
Extremely impressive career, extremely intelligent, and completely blind.
Sterling Light Productions.
There's not just bias, there's just associations that people have. And these are not good associations.
Dan Berlin using a white cane.
Weakness, need of support.
We were looking for something that would be incredibly hard to do.
What's the craziest thing you could think of ever doing?
Jack at a laptop.
And he said, ride my bike across the country? We had no idea that RAM actually existed.
Bicycle wheels spin.
When they hear about Race Across America, they're always like, oh, I want to do it. And I'm like, all right, let's talk for a minute. If you can't just get up and ride 100 miles, you don't even want to start training.
A kind of crazy endurance challenge that most people would never take on.
A Statue of Liberty.
But if a blind guy,
Jack trains,
takes it on, it's telling you something about your assumptions about a blind person, isn't it?
This spring.
I'm an assistant United States attorney.
Currently a philanthropist.
I'm Jack Chen, assistant general counsel at Facebook.
It's legal to pay blind people less than the minimum wage. You can literally pay nothing.
70% of people like me are unemployed.
Jack Chen, Dan Berlin, Tina Ament, Kyle Kuhn.
How amazing it is to cross the entire continent on a bicycle.
Many people thought we were crazy for even starting it.
People have died in rain.
Nighttime. Bicyclists in the rain.
Hey, classic Kansas, right?
A flash of lightning.
There's a giant tornado.
I took on this race.
Two men on a tandem bike.
With a skeptical sense of disbelief that this was possible.
Producer, Lukas Behnken.
Not only the longest single stage race in the entire world.
It's like a million races in one.
There is definitely an element of danger, regardless of whether sightless or blind or not.
Directed by Ramon Fernandez.
If just one person who's in a position to make an opportunity sees this movie and changes their behavior, then I think we've won.
Surpassing Sight. Join us on Facebook at Team C2C.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Wow, that was a great trailer, man. That was so catching. It was pretty cool. So Jack, tell us about, what we just saw.
Well, what folks have just seen are key scenes from the film, which takes us on a journey in at least two aspects. The one theme of the movie is about a historic race that 4 people did. 4 blind cyclists and their pilots rode from San Diego, California to Annapolis, Maryland in an organized race, which is widely known as the toughest endurance challenge in the world. You think about Tour de France, you know that obviously that is a difficult cycling challenge. The one great thing about Tour de France, which is different than Race Across America, is that it's a staged race. So at the end of every day, you get to go home, you get to eat, you get to sleep in a bed. We did not get that opportunity. It's a one-stage race, which means that you are in motion at all times. And if you're not, then you will miss the cutoff, which was supposed to be 9 days to go 3,100 miles. So that is one theme of the race, of the movie, excuse me. The other theme of the movie is about what Lukas alluded to, which is showing real examples in the real life of people who are blind and visually impaired doing real things. And part of the reason for that is because, from my understanding, and I have not seen all of the movies, obviously, but from my understanding, a lot of the movies that have been put out there about blindness, about disability, have a lot of times focused on tremendous things that someone does, and not denigrating those in any way because they're amazing, about climbing a mountain or about a savant gift or something like that. But one of the things that we felt was so necessary was this idea that people see regular people who have a disability doing regular things and doing them well. And a really quick story, I have a friend of mine named Edwin who I met at the 25th college reunion back in, I don't know, a few years ago. And he came up to me and he said, you know, Jack, I wish that I could have helped you more while we were in school. And I didn't understand what he meant. But what he meant was that he was trying to help me through some of the struggles and challenges I had. In particular, he was a math whiz. He went to Stuyvesant. He's incredible. He's a senior executive at Citigroup. And I was taking multivariable calculus and differential equations in the summer, and he went to class and he's going to try to help me figure out what was written on the board. And he's just sat partway through. He just said, "I can't do this. It's just not possible." And so, but yet he saw me work through my challenges, things like that, for 4 years as we stayed friends, and I graduated. And then years later, he had the opportunity to interview someone at Citi who was blind for a job, and he was about to offer this person a job. And he went to his partners and he said, "I'm going to hire this guy." And they're like, no, wait a minute. You know, he's a smart guy and he's really good, but this is a tough place. And Edwin said, "No, I'm going to do it because I've seen it done before." And it is our view that we want to create many, many more millions of folds of people like Edwin, who look at people who like me and Dan and the others that are in this race, and hopefully other people in the community, and see what success can look like. It doesn't look like a normal person with sight all the time. It doesn't look like a normal person who can do all the normal things everyone can do. But disability being normalized is important for us to begin to break down that understanding and to get to people to realize that people who are blind can do just about everything that everyone else can. And there's an incredibly huge untapped talent pool out there that's ready and available for people to tap into.
That's so true. And you see these employers all throughout, the United States and the world that are gun shy. I can tell you for a fact, and I agree with you so much, Lukas, I have a very good friend of mine. We're very close. He just retired, but he worked for NASA, and he was part of the training team and the team that put together the International Space Station Alliance from around the world. He worked in mission control, and he's totally blind. And he runs marathons on top of that. So you can do what you want to do. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You just have to put your heart to it. And the race is a good example. I was very impressed. So, Lukas, tell us, during the movie, were you on set?
Yeah, so my experience more was all through footage and getting to witness the capturing of the experience of the race. And when we talk about what they went through to not only accomplish putting the team together and how to manage that in a documentary is really neat in that you're capturing all of the emotion, all of the ups and downs, and the experiences of doing it. And I think to the point of people seeing things done before, most of the crew had not experienced working with or had a friend or family member who was blind. So it was really neat to witness through the other characters in the film their experience of slowly and then quickly, as in, that's a funny term, but slowly realizing and then quickly forgetting that anyone was blind, that they came to the realization that, oh wow, I thought this race working with individuals who are blind was going to be so different because of this one thing. And they all talk about how they forgot, as in it became normal, and then they were just a group of people racing across America, which was the point. It's the microcosm of the macro effort. Is just like your friend, the people around your friend at NASA now know that someone who's blind can work at that level because they watched him do it for 20 years, and it's not even a thing in their minds. But the problem is not everybody has seen that. So it was incredible to watch excuse me, that shift of the crew witness this, and then to talk with their family and friends about their experience of having a father who was blind, or having a brother or sister who was blind, or having a child that was blind. All the kids say, I don't notice anything different about my dad. It's just normal. And I think spending an hour and a half watching that helps people ingest. Now they've experienced it, and now they know someone in a better way, which changes everything.
So I got a question for either one of you guys. During the race, you were all together. I'm sure the quarters were kind of like a submarine. I'm from the subs, so pretty tight. Did any feelings get hurt, or was there any stress or anything being together with the pressure of getting it done? And people with sight and without sight, did everybody play nice together? Or?
Absolutely, 100%. There was no issues during the race at all.
None at all.
None. No. I mean, that is the tremendous thing about this race. Actually, what really makes this race hard is the dynamics of interactions, of stress, of duress, of putting your body through virtually not sleeping for a week, doing these really difficult climbs up mountains that are 14,000, 15,000 feet, and certainly things are going to break down. But that is the tremendous thing about this race. There's a lot of people who do this race where their crew falls apart and the team quits. It's not uncommon. And
did you see that during the race?
Did we see other teams fall apart?
Yes.
We heard about them. We were not close enough to other teams to really interact with them. I mean, we were chasing them because we were racing, but we weren't close enough to interact with them. But we did hear that there were some teams that had to drop out of the race. And so it is a real thing. And so
and you're a group of strangers, right?
Exactly.
The people they pulled together all suddenly are a massive team and are meeting. So the personalities come out, the differences, the styles, the life.
Yeah, I will say that one of the things that subsequent to putting the movie together and in somewhat in tandem with what we're doing with the social action campaign, I've started to do some talks, and one of the subject areas I speak on is this idea of how to create teams to do impossible things. The impossible thing here was largely based on the fact that this was an incredibly difficult race with people you did not know, bringing them all together to do one thing in a very stressful environment. And what we learned through that, I think, is incredibly valuable, not only for the race scenario, but also just in life and in general, in your day-to-day. If you're going through building teams to build a product or provide a service, how do you create teams to make a movie? Absolutely. How do you create a team to do impossible things? And this movie is a great resource, even above and beyond being a movie about blindness and success and all that. It really is a movie to talk about teams, because this team not only crushed it, but also won an award for being the best crew during the race.
And a lot of response we've had is that people say, yes, I learned everything about the blindness and the unemployment, but I went and showed it to a bunch of other family members about working together through adversity. That was the driving force of why they went to share it, because it's an example and gives you the lessons on how to do that.
You should be very proud of your team with the award. And
they're incredible. Absolutely incredible team. Probably never to be repeated again.
Caravans, vans. How many vehicles was it?
It was 5 vans and 3 RVs.
I want to know how many bottles of water you guys went through.
A lot. And it was feeding 42 people. I mean, just
42 people. Wow.
For a week.
Without
great,
stopping, traveling.
Right.
And there was no overnight in the hotel. It was just all in the RV and the vans. Correct. And keep on going.
Correct.
Rain or shine, right?
Absolutely. Rain, shine, sandstorms, hailstorms, you name it.
It happens in rotation. So while a certain team is riding, they're rotating. And so the group drives ahead, and they may have 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to park and eat or put something together as the racers are catching up to. It's a baton race of sorts where you're just continuing that path. So there's these little pauses of leapfrogging.
Was your team the first time that the race officials dealt with a team that was blind and vision impaired?
An entire team, yes. I believe there was another person who's visually impaired who participated in the race prior, on a team prior, but this was a team of all visually impaired cyclists and their pilots.
Did the race officials or the organization of the race, was it easy to work with, or was it like a challenge, maybe pulling teeth trying to say, hey, we can do this?
No, absolutely. They were ready to support us. To their credit,
that's great.
This was a new adventure for them, and it was a new adventure for us for sure, but they were fantastic about working with us.
And we didn't highlight it in the movie a lot, but in showing the crew, they brought up how thick this book is of rules and regulations, and that's actually one of the main difficulties of the race is how to orchestrate the entire event, and that was a big part of the race.
I mean, for example, it told you could only park 3 feet off the fog line, or you had to be no more than 20. You had to maintain a 20-foot following distance to your riders at night at all times. There were very, very, very specific rules because people die in these races. They'll be so tired that they'll fall asleep riding and ride into oncoming traffic. Or there's some parts where the fog is so thick that you can't see people coming in the other direction or turn in the road, and by the time you get up on them, people die in these races or get paralyzed. It's not a sanitized event. So there are a lot of rules.
Well, so exciting. So we're going to take another break and check back with the studio and see what's happening with some public announcements. And when we come back, we're going to wrap things up and talk a little bit about the next steps for you guys. Would you stay with us for just a few more minutes?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. This is Ben with Share the Wisdom from the Wisdom to the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be right back.
Living with vision impairment means you need as many advantages as you can get, which is why Wisdom for Blind Youth will be providing a monthly Zoom-like event aimed at helping vision-impaired or blind youth 17 old or under. Various topics related to children will be discussed. Remember, the earlier someone gets help for their vision impairment, the more they can develop strategies for navigating life. Get signed up today. Go online to w4tb.org/treehouse. And don't forget to share the wisdom and to tell a friend. Veterans deserve as much help as they can get. They put their lives on the line for their country, and yet there's still an ongoing mental health crisis among military veterans that needs to be addressed. Well, if you're a veteran who wants the support of fellow veterans and to support fellow veterans, join Wisdom for the Blind's Cup of Joe virtual coffee and chat. It's low-key, fun, and gives veterans an outlet to talk with others who fully understand what they're going through. Get connected at Wisdom for the Blind's website, w4tb.org/cupofjoe.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Well, thanks for sticking with us. We're back with Jack and Lukas, and we're talking about the movie and what their organization is doing. Hey, guys, that last segment was real interesting, and I'm very proud of your team and what you've done. Do you think you guys would do that race again? Is it an every-year race? Or?
I got that one in me, and I think that's it. Plus, now with 4 kids, unless they want to do it, hey, we'll do it as a family.
Sounds good. So, where are you guys at now? What are you doing with the nonprofit, and what's your next steps? And how can somebody support your organization and your goals and mission?
Sure. Well, we are building our campaign with partners and investors and donor-advised funds to fund our next. Here's how we're doing it again. We're taking the movie and we're racing it across the United States. And we're traveling, holding private events and screenings with select individuals who are interested in what we're doing and interested in the long-term 30, 40-year plan of actually making a dent in this unemployment rate and showing the data of the change. And so we're holding the private events, sharing with those individuals the vision of the organization and the foundation. And that will lead into this fund will fund a 20-city premiere tour where we'll do larger premieres with the partners that we built during this first phase, and really want to actualize in those premiere events, witnessing change happen and setting up these events that will become case studies for what we do. And we've already accomplished connecting organizations with our consultants and team to change, to create employment and employ individuals. That's another component on our making of the film. We also, our composer is blind, our sound design team is blind, and the staff that we'll be putting together in the foundation, there'll be vision impaired and blind individuals, and our board member, one of our main board members is blind, low vision. And so we want to always be doing what we're preaching. And after this premiere tour, that will build enough momentum and a group of people who know about it, so that when we take the film broad and for a wide global release, we'll have the infrastructure in place through what we're calling our white glove concierge service. And maybe Jack can speak on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to emphasize a little what Lukas was saying, the film is not yet released, and that's intentional because building social impact work the film is far more impactful as a private, proprietary film, and we're utilizing it into its maximal capacity for that purpose. And what Lukas has alluded to is the model for how we're going to tackle this challenge. There's a couple of things that we've noticed and that are opportunities for improvement in this overall ecosystem. One of them being this idea that, first of all, employers, people in general, don't understand the capabilities of people who are blind and visually impaired. And as we talked about in the earlier segments, putting that front and center with people. That is proven, and it will change people's hearts. So wherever they see it, it will happen. What we want to do is capture that intent and funnel it into a system where we can really begin to make change. And so how do we do that? Well, as Lukas also alluded to, building relationships with the organizations. There are 70 or 100, maybe there are more that we don't even know about, who are very focused on blindness and employment and creating opportunities. And for example, a lot of the New York Commission, the commissions for the blind all over the country, including New York and folks, ones near me, or vocational rehabilitation institutes, or the VA, or any number of these other organizations are incredibly focused on this. And we want to bring them all together. But what we also want to do is capture that interest from employers in particular when the movie is seen, because we want them to get in their mind, oh, wait a minute, I've got 1,500 job openings, I can't even fill them. What if I could get access to this community and begin building my pipeline to tap into this community that hasn't been tapped into before? Because there are, 10 million blind people in America? I don't know the numbers, a lot. Yeah. And for example, there are 755,000 open cybersecurity jobs in the United States. And one company that we have been working with through one of our consultants has built a pipeline process, a 10-week training program to teach people who are blind and visually impaired how to do cybersecurity so they can sit for an exam after that 10-week program, and then this company can place them in jobs because they have a recruiting arm that places cybersecurity experts. So it's business, and this is the thing we want to create, is that this organization is not only about being the nonprofit, being the charitable organization, it's about helping business do more business and do it with people who are blind and visually impaired, because we believe that it not only is a great talent pool, but that they are uniquely gifted and qualified because of the fact that they've had to solve so many problems in their lifetime. They're incredible opportunities for people to expand their businesses. So the White Glove Service connects employers to these organizations, walks these employers through the process, and really helps the industry as a whole to get more focused, to get more to know what employers want, to help them focus on these pieces. And there's a lot of people in the ecosystem. We want to make the whole ecosystem stronger. And in the long term, by doing that and by bringing these organizations together, we want to go to the lawmakers and say, here's what we're building. Here's what we're proving out, that there is this incredible opportunity. Help us magnify this through legislation, through funding, through political action, whatever it is. Long term, there's an opportunity there as well. And all these pieces have already begun to fit together. We just need to actualize it. So, Lukas, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the partnerships and how to get involved with Surpassing Sight a little bit.
Sure. And just to expand on one of the areas you're mentioning, we've heard, and what we're trying to do is fill the gaps that we've been learning from talking to the organizations and companies. And someone might come across an opportunity to hire someone and they hit hurdles. So a company will hit some hurdles and they stop there. So for instance, finding out that they would need to develop an extra couple-week program or get an extra piece of equipment, and they see that as too hard, as in that piece of equipment is $8,000 or $20,000, or to write the course would take 2 weeks, and so we don't have the people to do that, so they don't do it. And so that's what we want to do, is be those people or connect them to put those people in place and fund those people to make those bridges, because it's a lot more simple than they see it as, and they don't see that $20,000 investment is actually going to be a major profit for them with that minor investment of providing the tools needed for an entire population to do the work. So that's how we're discovering it, is filling these gaps. And
there's also a lot of, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there's also a lot of programs available out there to help the employer go in that direction.
That's right. And we want to be the source to just tell them about them versus them trying to look. We will tell them, all of them. And if that one didn't work, we'll tell them the next one, and we'll hold their hands and do it with them. And the way we're structuring, right now we have the opportunity for people to come on board as executive producers of the film through investments or donations into the organization, at large movie levels around the $500,000 range, where a corporation or a company or an individual can be one of the main executive producers on the film, all the way down to different tiers of $250,000 and $150,000 and down to $10,000 of being part of a sponsorship package to be highlighted on all of our premieres with the step and repeats and the press when we have the celebrities and stars and politicians and sports figures at these premiere events. So there's a lot of opportunities we've created for us to highlight individuals, and there'll be a vetting process as well. We want to not only have those bigger donors, but be selective about knowing that they are doing something in this space. And so that's part of the early phase that we're in, is linking with those individuals and finding those partners. Anything to add to that, Jack?
Yeah, the only piece I wanted to add is sort of what are we actually trying to build, and why are we doing it in this way? Well, one of the things that we feel very strongly about is creating an endowment for this organization. We don't want it to be an organization that exists for 5 years and then kind of disappears. We want it to last in perpetuity, to continue this work. And the best way we can do that is to fund it well, so that it can be a self-sustaining organization. It doesn't need to, after a period, doesn't need to go out and raise more funds, but it can really lean into this work. And that's what we're passionate to do, because we do believe that this work will reduce the unemployment rate. It just needs to be sustained.
Yeah, the overall vision is a $70 million endowment where and we ourselves aren't the entity doing the hiring or the company creating, the job. So our funding will really, say an organization, a large nonprofit who works in the blind space has an arm for employment, but of their 16 efforts, it's one of them. And they might have one employee for that and zero marketing, but they might be one of the best databases for it. So we would fund with our foundation that department to be expanded, to take on the influx of opportunities that we're creating. And that's the model that we're creating.
So let me ask you guys, if they wanted to get a hold of you, do you guys have a website or an email?
Yes, absolutely. If anyone wants to get a hold of us, they can email us either at jack@surpassingsight.com or Lukas, Lukas, at surpassingsight.com. And one of the neat things that brings us here today is coming across Ben through a producing partner of mine, which is how we've been being connected. I was sharing with the film with a producing partner, and he said, you should talk to my friend Spencer, and Spencer said, you should talk to my friend Ben. And what's come out of that in the matter of weeks was being able to be invited in and then partner with Wisdom for the Blind on their annual event cruise coming up in October. And they've orchestrated a way to give us an opportunity to show the film on the cruise and do a round table with their keynote speaker and have Jack and I speak about our mission and our cause. And it's just been incredible to be invited into that as they highlight a couple of other organizations and work being done in the blindness space. And so that's the ripple effect of how we're taking the film around. And this will still be a private showing, but the individuals on the cruise will be able to hear about our event. And we're just thrilled to be invited into this and partner with you guys. And
we're real excited about it.
Yeah,
too.
thank you for helping us champion our message. And hopefully we'll be able to have a case study with you and your organization on blind and low vision being employed.
No, I think it's great. And, since you and I have gotten together because of, Spencer, I've, how you start listening for things. And as I do my research, I'm just more attuned on things and, coming across stuff. But I look so much forward to meeting you and your family in person and Jack and you guys. Wisdom Forum is going to be October 27th. There's still seats available. It's a forum that we do every year. We had 25 workshops, but this one is going to be pretty cool. We're going to have the film showing, and that's going to be in the main theater. Carnival's been very supportive of our organization, and we're going to have all kinds of other training sessions, a round table. We have a gentleman who is on the Paralympic team for goalball, and he's actually just talked to him yesterday. We did a podcast. He's going to know on July 8th if he makes it to Paris.
Wow.
So we're pretty excited about that. But, this has been a great session. Really appreciate both of you guys, your time. And
thank you for all that you're doing. You could have retired and kicked back, but you have put your mind and heart to work and to bring in wisdom to people around the world in a number of spaces. So thank you for all of that.
I appreciate it. And, for our audience out there, remember we have 15 podcasts and webinars. You'll be able to find Jack and Lukas's information under the section on our website for our partners that we work with. You'll see their logos and just jump in there and it'll take you over to their stuff. Or you can email info@4tv.org and ask any question. In closing, did we miss anything, guys?
No.
I don't think so.
You got it all.
Jack?
No, I think you're good.
From my heart, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I look forward to seeing you guys in October. We're going to be at the conventions coming up.
One neat note is that we are paralleling Jack's book, which he's written, and it highlights a number of individuals who have overcome their own disabilities and shows how it's actually the adversities in our lives that actually make us successful, and that those are the things. Solving problems and being given more problems to solve is what makes us grow and can make us more successful than we would have been without. And so that's an upcoming additional asset to provide people with.
And Jack, when are you going to drop that book?
Working on it, hopefully in Q1 of next year. So,
back then I want you to come back and be on the show if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Hey, so both of you guys, I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot from both of you just in a short time. And I know that our audience, if you have the opportunity to go on the forum, you're going to learn a bunch more great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And check out what we're doing and listen to all our other podcasts and webinars. And remember, we have Wisdom Radio. You can download it from the Apple or the Google Play and hear all our webinars and all our podcasts on that too. But gentlemen, thank you very much. I want to thank our executive producer, Spencer, our producer, Candace, our engineer, Bree, and the staff back at Wisdom for the Blind headquarters in Fort Lauderdale. Not sunny today, but we're still there. You guys have a great time. Remember, share the wisdom, tell a friend, and thanks again. This is Ben. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy a good read? Or do you enjoy sharing new books with friends? Then join us on the second Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Wisdom Books, a virtual book club just for the blind or visually impaired. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, go to w4tb.org and click the link Wisdom Books for more information. And please don't forget to share the wisdom. Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's w4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind.
What's more perfect than exploring other cultures and dipping your toes in turquoise waters? Doing these things with your family and, of course, your brothers and sisters at Wisdom for the Blind. Don't miss Wisdom for the Blind's first Caribbean Forum at Sea aboard the Carnival Celebration, with games including mini golf, a relay race, basketball, and more. There will be learning workshops in technology, the VA, and medical advancements for the blind. The cruise sets sail from Miami on October 27, 2024, and will go through amazing ports like Costa Maya and Cozumel in Mexico, and Mahogany Bay in Roatan, along with 3 spectacular days at sea. Make lasting friends and incredible memories while learning about fabulous cultures and customs. The cruise starts at just $405 per person based on double occupancy, not including taxes and fees. Go online to w4tb.org/forum or email Wisdom for the Blind at forum@w4tb.org. Book now. Space is limited. And don't forget to share the wisdom and tell a friend.
VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi. My name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
Imagine this. The most challenging race on the planet. 3,000 total miles across North America, coast to coast from California to Maryland. No stop, no checkpoints. Riding approximately 22 hours a day for 9 days. An ultra-distance road cycling race 1/3 longer than the Tour de France, completed in 1/3 of the time. All on open roads with sometimes dangerous traffic and street conditions. All weather, heat, rain, wind, lightning, even tornadoes, day or night. You ride. And for the race, you've taken time off from one of these professional positions. Assistant counsel at Google, Global Food Corporation founder, now philanthropist and investor, a federal prosecutor with the DOJ, an Olympian and talented musician. Now imagine you completed the race in just 7 days, and you happen to be blind. Now stop imagining, because this is the real-life story of the Race Across America Team C2C, who set out to show the world success both on the road and in life, beyond limits, beyond assumptions, and beyond the radical underestimations and overlooked abilities of the blind.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Share the Wisdom. Share the Wisdom. Please look out for the next episode coming soon. And visit us on the web at www.w4tb.org. This has been Share the Wisdom with your host, Mr. Benjamin Keeley. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind Studios and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International.